Yeah, so I have one over here. This is a big boy. I think that's supposed to cover like 3,000 square feet. But that one in the winter is running full time, and then I've got another one back there beyond that fan and sink area. I refill those every day in the winter. I typically would keep it between 35 and 40% year round. The winter, it just depends on like how fast I can fill them up and how fast it's going through the window.
The Stringjoy Show, I'm Ryan. So we were talking about humidity there, which is an often overlooked aspect of guitar maintenance, especially when it comes to acoustic instruments, but I mean, electric guitars are certainly affected as well. And humidity is one of those things that I often neglect, and I end up spending money by bringing those guitars into this guy.
It's true.
So putting his kids through college. There are tons and tons of other aspects to guitar maintenance, and we'll touch on just a few of them.
Yeah, just general maintenance of an acoustic.
Just general good ideas. But one of the things I thought was really, really interesting that you told me before we started filming was that a large percentage of the acoustic repairs that you get brought in are all preventable by keeping track of humidity and just general pretty easy guitar maintenance. Yeah. So
very true.
This stuff might seem very simple, but we are saving you time and money.
Yeah, definitely saving you some headaches down the road. So this is just general maintenance on your acoustic guitar. Very important. It is with any guitar, but like on acoustic guitars, humidity is key for these things. Reason being is like this sound hole exposes a lot of wood that hasn't been finished. It doesn't have anything sealing it. Even if it did, it would still shrink and expand with the weather changes and humidity levels. And I was telling Ryan earlier, like probably 90% of the repairs I get in for acoustics are preventable, other than like general maintenance stuff. A lot of repairs will be top cracks. There'll be a crack here, like anywhere on the top, sometimes here, usually caused by the guitar drying out too much and actually cracking. Another really common one is bridge lifting up off the body. Gets too dry, it separates from the top during the expansion and contraction of the top with the weather. That's a big repair. Another one is like if it dries out or the humidity varies so much that the braces actually separate during the expansion and contraction process as well. That's another big repair. Most of these can be prevented by making sure you keep your acoustic properly humidified. So like let's say you're at home and your guitar is always out, it's never in a case, and you set it next to a radiator in the winter. And sometimes your apartment gets too hot or your house and you open the window and you have cold air coming in onto the guitar next to like a hot radiator or something. Really dry environments, just not good for these things. First thing you can do, it's pretty affordable. You get yourself a hygrometer and that just measures the humidity in the air. I have two in here and I believe they were like 10 bucks each, but I want to keep it between 35% and 45% humidity year-round. In the summer, I get a lot of air coming in, bleeding through the windows and the insulation, and it stays humid in here. In the summer, everything's great. In the winter, the inverse happens and all of the humidity gets sucked out, and so I have to refill the humidifiers often and try to keep it at like 35, 40 in the winter. 45-ish in the winter is really hard for me to maintain, but yeah, I mean, ideally anywhere between 35 and 45, you're fine. If it got too humid and it was like 60, 70% humidity, that wouldn't be good for the guitar either, but like dry is, I think, way worse. That's when the cracks happen, the braces, the bridge, just bad news. Let's say you're at home and you have a room with a humidifier in it, or it's built into your thermostat and like everything's good there. General maintenance on your acoustic that I do every time I change my strings, and I would do this on an electric as well, I oil the board, so oil the fingerboard when the strings are off. I usually fall back on this, the Dunlop 65. I've used this for so long that it's kind of hard for me to stay away from it. Putting a little bit of this on the board, and it's up to you if you want to follow the next steps, but you can let it soak, you know, for like a minute or two. Don't put too much on. It's not gonna ruin anything, it's just more cleanup. But yeah, you know, like let it soak a little bit, and then you can just take a paper towel or a polishing cloth and like dry up anything that's left over and restring. If you wanna go a step further, I use 1/4-aught steel wool, so just like the 4-0 steel wool. It lasts forever. And I would put the oil on, and then I would use the steel wool and just go with the direction of the grain and kind of clean the fingerboard, like get some of the gunk off if there is any. And then if you want to go a step further, you can use like a fret guard. This protects the grain on the wood, and you can put that over the fret and polish crosswise with the steel wool and like shine your frets. All right, let's say you're like cleaning your board and you've got the lemon oil on there, and you decide you want to use the 1/4-aught steel wool, and instead of going with the grain, you were going against the grain and doing it crosswise, like without a fret guard or something. It will introduce very, very fine, like cross grain scratches, but they're nothing to worry about. You didn't do anything wrong. Most fingerboards, I believe, are like sanded out to 400 grit in final preparation of like a guitar being sold. And if you're using 1/4-aught steel wool, the grit is so fine that like you're hardly gonna see them. But that is like a concern that I get from a lot of people of like, I don't wanna scratch my fingerboard. It'll never look the same. On like a heavily finished maple neck, you could see the cross scratches, but if you're working with rosewood and you accidentally go this way and you're using steel wool, like it's gonna be fine. It's just gonna be fine. And after I do that with the steel wool, I would use some semi-chrome with that same procedure with the fret guard and really polish them out. You don't have to do any of that, but oil, I would say, is like pretty necessary. It's always a good practice. From there, for cleaning it, I have like 3 polishes here that I rotate between. Depending on the instrument, certain polishes work better, other polishes can cloud it a little. I usually test a small area, but any of these will work great. This is a Smith Pro formula that I've been told smells like a urinal. I think it smells pretty nice, actually. This one smells like cinnamon, if you're into that. And this is like a very oily smelling, like this smells like a car shop, but it works really well on Gibson stuff with nitro finishes. So yeah, you just wanna oil your board, wipe up any residual like extra stuff. Sometimes I will oil the bridge too, because this is an unfinished piece of wood. If you notice that your bridge is like really dry and chalky looking, you'll just want to put a little bit of this on there and just like let it sit and then buff it off. The next step would be to humidify the guitar. So if you have a built-in humidifying system in your house, you're probably fine. If you have like a humidifier for a closet and you just keep like one closet humidified and your guitars are always in there, you're fine. If you keep it in its case often, I recommend case humidifiers, and they come in a lot of different options. Like you can get the black, I think it's Planet Waves or D'Addario with a sponge in it, and that will go in there. That's great. And then you just want to make sure that it's not super dried out. You want to keep checking the dampness on that periodically. The cheapest way to do it, like the absolute cheapest way to do it, is buy a kitchen sponge and put it in a Ziploc bag, poke a bunch of holes in it, and that's your humidifier for your acoustic. I do that all the time. I send people home with those because they cost virtually nothing to make, and they last forever too, and that's great.
I should note that if you want to be higher class with that,
yeah,
all you got to do is get one of those travel plastic tape.
Oh yeah, the other way to do it.
Soap. Plastic soap containers.
Yep, the soap container with the holes in it.
Drill little holes in it, and you put your sponge in there.
Yep, that's another one.
It's like Miller Lite versus PBR, you know?
Yeah, that one is a good way to do it. That one would be definitely good in the case, and not just like trying to put it down in the sound hole or anything like that. Another thing I want to touch on really quick, when you are humidifying your acoustic guitar with a sponge and you're getting that sponge damp, there's a lot of debate online whether or not you should use distilled water versus tap water. And the theory is that if you use distilled water, there's less things in it and it doesn't affect the soundboard or the braces or the acoustic.
The sediment? Is there less?
Yeah, there's like less sediment and things of that nature. I've run a few experiments where I've had sponges in open containers, one with distilled, one with tap water. And then I've had them in enclosed containers, same, so like not introducing oxygen. And I've found that like little to no mold grows on either of them, so I don't think you like really have to concern yourself with like whether or not introducing tap water is going to mold your braces and change your sound, or if distilled water is better. I would honestly just say any humidity is what you want for your acoustic. And if you don't have access to distilled water, that's totally fine. Like you'll be fine with tap water.
Well, as always, I would like to thank Wyatt Overman of Overman Guitars for making us all a little bit smarter and helping us protect our investments a little bit better. Thank you guys for watching. Again, leave your comments below if you guys have any ideas for future videos, stuff you'd like to see covered. We would love to hear it. And I mean, we were talking about some pretty granular ideas earlier today, so you can't get too nerdy for this guy right here. So, yeah, we'd love to hear your ideas. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And also, there's a lot of really great information that goes out on the Stringjoy email list and weekly great info. So, until next time, I'll see you when I see you.
See you later.